Good. All right, ready? Looking back on your youth sports experiences, what do you remember most?
Well, I just remember the coaches and the times with the team, I guess, more than anything. It makes you feel like you're a part of something, you know, you're somebody. I remember one of our first youth coach was a guy named Tom Minnick. I remember the very first event we had, not the first event, but young, about 5th grade, we went to a Junior Olympics in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and we saw this other family there, the Minnicks. It was Jeff Minnick, John Minnick, and Jimmy Minnick, and their dad, Tom Minnick, and their mom, Polly Minnick, were all there. And we saw these guys, we're like, these guys are like great. These guys they're winning everything. They're winning every medal. You know, we just kind of got to know them a little bit. Then that fall, we went to our first youth football experience with the Ann Arbor Junior Packers. And the coach was Tom Minnick, and those guys were all on the team, and we've been lifelong friends ever since. So, you know, that's kind of something that it means a lot. It's part of who you are growing up when you do something like that.
Looking back on the coaches that you had, were there some that really things that they said or things that they did that really helped you as far as motivation or confidence or in that respect?
Yeah, I think you remember the encouraging coaches. You know, the coach that tells you one time, one thing that you do well defines you a little bit as a kid, you know, because, you know, all little kids are looking for, you know, what are they all about and who are they and can they be good at something? And all of a sudden a coach tells you that you're good at something, whether it's throwing or batting or tackling or hitting a tennis ball, whatever it is, it makes you feel like, oh, I can be good at something. The coach thinks I'm a little bit special.
Running practices with a lot of kids, especially in a sport like football, you got to involve a lot of kids. How do you make them all feel a part of the team, a part of practice?
Well, you know, I think that's probably the biggest challenge for youth coaches, is making everybody a part of it and getting everybody involved. And over the years, we've been involved in a lot of camps, and that's always kind of been the motto. Short lines, everybody's involved, everybody's throwing, everybody's catching, everybody's running, making it competitive. I think you set up drills where there's not lines. You know, you set up drills where everybody's going against somebody and you have a chance to kind of encourage and impact every single player at every single moment. The minute you see a young kid, a player, a boy or a girl, standing around, losing interest, then to me, that's a disaster. Because you're taking that child and they're going to lose interest in sports or activities really for the rest of their life. But if you can take that hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, however long you have them, and keep them engaged, keep them doing something, and the more you can make it competitive, where it's them going against somebody else, I think then you've got a chance to have a special drill for them.
That's great. Now, coaches are in a great position to build confidence in kids. How does someone go about doing that with young kids?
Right. Well, building confidence in kids, I mean, whether it's your own kids or whether it's someone that you're coaching, is the most important thing. It's no different here at our level. I mean, our guys, you could say they're big kids, I guess. You know, it's important to build confidence in those guys too, and to build the understanding of accountability, and to make them know that they're important, to make them know that they mean something to the team, and that their impact is going to have value to what the team does. I think you try to make everything competitive. You try to make sure that they all play and get reps and are part of the thing, have a chance to make a difference, and you find a way to find a win for every single child. There's got to be something that child can win at, you know, no matter what it is. Maybe they don't run as well, but they're the strongest, you know. Maybe they're not as coordinated, but they're the smartest, or whatever it might be. You find something that child can win at, and if you can do it every single day, if you can have a plan for every single kid every single day and get them a win, so when they go home, they've got something to brag to their mom or their dad or their brother or sister about, I think you've been successful as a youth coach.
Now, you're dealing with a lot of different personalities, whether at this level or at the youth level. How do you figure out what buttons to push with certain kids to...
Yeah. How hard is it to figure it out what buttons to push? I mean, to me, it's not rocket science. You know, you can tell what turns kids on or what turns players on, and usually what it is having fun, being a part of something, you know, doing something there. What would they be doing if they weren't there? They'd probably be sitting at home, not doing anything by themselves. So they've gotten up, their parents have gotten them there to be a part of something special. It's your responsibility. You've taken on that, you volunteered for this task to make it a special and a meaningful thing. And you figure it out, you get to know the kids. And you got to make sure that you don't give all your attention to the best player. I mean, the best player, the best athlete, they're going to get plenty of attention. And you're encouraging them too. You want them to know that they're valuable too. But make sure that everybody's included and everybody walks home with a good story to tell their mom or dad.
Sportsmanship's another tricky issue to deal with, all the bad examples kids see on TV or whatever. How's a coach go about making sure that's an important aspect at the youth level so kids respect adults?
Right. Well, to me, sportsmanship, you know, people talk about being a tough thing or a tricky thing. To me, it's a piece of cake. I mean, how hard is it? You know, everybody wants to talk about all the bad examples that you might see on TV. Well, you see some bad examples on TV, but how many good examples do you see? And maybe they aren't always the thing that gets played over and over again on SportsCenter, but you're a coach, you should be looking for those. Did you see the NBA playoffs last night? Did you see what happened after the game when LeBron went over and shook somebody's hand? Or whatever, or didn't shake somebody's hand, and how would you have handled that situation? You know, it's your team. These are your players. It's your opportunity to teach your lessons and your values. You're not beholden to what they see on TV. Find the good stuff, throw away the bad stuff, and make sure that they understand that being a good teammate and being a good sportsman is as important as anything to do in life. And down the road, when they're competing for a job or competing for a sale or whatever, they'll understand how important that is.
That's good. Now, parents can be a little pushy and thinking what they know what's best for their kid. How does a coach stick to what he knows is right for the kids and deal with the parents in the process?
Right. Well, you know, I understand how parents can be pushy and they kind of know what's right for their kids, because I got a kid. I got a little 7-year-old girl, Allison. And, you know, when I go watch her practice, I want her to do well. And I can get frustrated with the coach sometimes. You know, sometimes he's not throwing strikes. You know, it's a coach pitch league. You know, if he throws it in there, I know she's going to hit the ball. So to me, it's a two-way street. You know, parents have to be understanding what the coach is trying to do, but the coach probably bears the most responsibility because he's the one responsible to explain to the parents, what are we doing? You know, what are we trying to get accomplished? What are the goals at the beginning of the season? Maybe at the beginning of the practice, you walk over and you explain to the parents, hey, this is what we're going to try to get done today. This is what we want your son or daughter to walk away from with this experience, and if we do that, we're going to be successful today, and give the parents kind of a framework for evaluating what's going on.
Final 2 questions. Conditioning. How do you condition kids? You've got a group of kids who don't know how good a shape they're in. How do you make it fun so you don't chase them away from the sport?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, conditioning and making it fun. It's pretty hard to line them up on a line and run gassers and think that kids are going to want to do that. They're just not going to want to do that. So what you said, I think, is the point. You do make it fun. To me, everything is a game. We do it with our guys here. We do it in our conditioning program. We make up games where they've got to do constant running, and it might be barrel ball. So you set up a barrel, and it's kind of like soccer, but they run, they pass each other on the run, they throw it in the barrel. So set up a game where there's constant running, yet if there's one of the children might not be in as good a shape, if they have to slow down a little bit on the side, that's okay, then they can pick it back up. But time flies like that if they're having fun and they're moving the whole time. If you set up a youth activity, and they're not moving the whole time in some way or another, I think you haven't done a good job.
Your final question, you're dealing with a group of dads who are coaching youth football for the first time. What would be the one message you'd want to make sure they took with them to the field?
Well, it's so hard to give one message to a youth football coach, but I think the basic thing is you want to treat each person with respect, like they're your own son or daughter, and make sure that when they walk off the field that day, have a plan for each and every child and make sure they walk off that day taking something positive and meaningful away that they can talk to their mom or dad about and say, hey, what'd you do today? Oh, I did this. I scored a touchdown, or I recovered a fumble, or I made a block, whatever it is, that they take something away that they did well.
That's awesome.
Is that good?
That's good.
Good. Didn't even need the notes. Huh? All right.
Like every soundbite's perfect. That's great.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Appreciate that.
It's funny because when you got a 7-year-old, you think about that stuff. I mean, I've got a little girl going through it now.
Especially, yeah, you guys are watching, yeah.
Yeah, you know, she comes home and you just want her to have a good experience. You know, so.
That was great insight.
Great.
I really appreciate your time.
Can I get a copy of that when you guys get it together?
Yes.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for coming up.
Thank you very much. Okay.
See you guys.
I'll be right back.
Okay.